Story starts from a girl wonders some heroines might get transported into novels as the glamorous, wealthy protagonists, but our heroine Ji Yushua found herself in the unfortunate position of a side character in a rich family's drama. Originally, Ji Yushua was a powerful and fearless matriarch during the Jin dynasty, effortlessly taking down bandits with her iron fan. Just as she was about to dazzle them with her golden hairpin, she was inexplicably drawn into a mysterious book she had secretly kept for years. In a blink, she found herself as the eldest daughter of the Xin Yang group, a mere supporting character in a world where wealth and power were everything. Awakening in this new reality, Ji Yushua struggled to explain her time travel to a bewildered doctor, who eyed her with increasing suspicion. She faced an uphill battle to keep her composure, even as the doctor began to doubt her sanity. But adversity had never defeated her before. Ji Yushua, who always had a soft spot for lonely warriors in strange lands, received a call that her brother-in-law was causing trouble again, an unsurprising development given the chaotic nature of her new family. Dealing with the endless headaches of a wealthy but dysfunctional clan, she quickly adapted to her new reality. In her stylish high heels, she leaped from the 88th floor, hitting the streets below with a determination to navigate this unfamiliar world and the unfamiliar body she now inhabited. As she sifted through the memories of the body's previous owner, she discovered that this woman, who shared her name, had once been the spoiled and domineering eldest daughter of the Xingyang group. The former Ji Yushua had orchestrated a scandalous affair with the president of the Yang family, a story that had been splashed across the media. Yet, despite marrying into the prestigious Yang family, she held no real power and was frequently looked down upon. Her situation deteriorated further when the Yang family president disappeared shortly after their wedding, leaving her to face the chaos of the family alone. This was a harsh lesson in the dangers of being blinded by love. Now, the Yang family was beset by internal strife and external threats, and Ji Yushua found herself thrown into the middle of this storm, replacing the unruly heiress and becoming the eye of the hurricane. As she pondered her predicament, her phone buzzed with a message. "Mr. Yang, where are you? The fourth young master has gotten into trouble again, and we can't handle it." Reflecting on her 10 years with the Shang family, Ji Yushua realized she had been prepared to strategize in courtrooms and dominate battlefields, but nothing had prepared her for the chaos of the Yang family. The guy in question even looked like a wannabe rapper, a far cry from the dignified warriors she once knew. With no way back to her old life, Ji Yushua resolved to make the best of her situation and set out to whip this useless family into shape. Arriving at the police station with a screech of tires, she made a dramatic entrance. Inside, she found Yang Wenba lounging around, waiting to be bailed out, his shock palpable when he saw his once fierce sister-in-law here to rescue him. He doubted her, thinking she was just putting on a show. Their argument quickly escalated, with Ji Yushua brandishing a belt, ready to deal with her troublesome brother-in-law. But before she could strike, a blond man stepped in. Jiang Jing, the third young master of the Jiang family and the reason Ji Yushua was at the station. As Jiang Jing taunted Yang Wenba, Ji Yushua stepped up to defend her family, declaring, "I'm his sister-in-law, and I'm not afraid to take you on." "Do you know who I am?" Jiang Jing initially appeared unimpressed, but it wasn't long before he realized he was dealing with a formidable opponent. Ji Yushua exposed all of Jiang Jing's misdeeds and, in a moment of inspiration, decided to take him home as well. With the two troublemakers in tow, she prepared to return to the Yang household. Jiang Jing, intrigued, agreed to go along, thinking, "Let's see who's really afraid of who." As they sat in the car, Ji Yushua contemplated her new role. The Shang family members were battle-hardened by her age, but these pampered children needed some tough love. In the front seat, Yang Wenba grumbled, still nursing his bruised ego. Suddenly, he noticed through the rearview mirror that the blonde guy was staring at Ji Yushua's legs, sparking a new wave of tension. Infuriated, Yang Wenba shouted at the driver to pull over and demanded that Ji Yushua switch seats with him. "Is this how you speak to your sister-in-law?" she retorted, her voice sharp. Unmoved, Yang Wenba insisted she take the front seat. Meanwhile, Jiang Jing, the blonde troublemaker, muttered under his breath, "What's the big deal? I was just looking at her legs. What's your problem?" He shot Yang Wenba a disdainful look, but both men soon turned their attention to the passing scenery, simmering in silence. As the car pulled up to the Yang mansion, a maid hurried out to greet them. "Madam, where have you been?" "Miss Jiang is here, and you need to see her," she blurted out. Before the maid could finish, Jiang Meng, a third-rate actress who claimed to be Yang Chao's lover and was supposedly pregnant with his child, made her dramatic entrance. Jiang Meng had been a thorn in Ji Yushue's side for some time, constantly stirring up trouble. But the Ji Yushue who stood before her now was no longer the same woman. With the poise of a true matriarch, Ji Yushue swiftly dismissed Jiang Meng and her fabricated baby drama, sending her packing without a second thought. The two young men, bemused by the spectacle, followed their sister-in-law inside. No one had expected Ji Yushue to be so unyielding, especially towards Jiang Meng. Once inside, she calmly invited everyone upstairs. Jiang Jing, still hoping to turn the situation in his favor, believed the adults might apologize and let him off the hook. However, as soon as he stepped through the door, he was met with a swift and unexpected response, a leather belt flying towards him. "Since your family hasn't taught you proper manners, I'll do it today," Ji Yushue declared, her voice laced with authority. She proceeded to discipline Jiang Jing with the kind of tough love that left no room for defiance. The sound of the belt cracking against him was so intense that anyone watching could almost feel the sting. Jiang Jing was in utter disbelief. He never imagined she would actually hit him, let alone in such a humiliating manner. "How dare you hit me?" he shouted, wincing with each lash. But Ji Yushue was relentless, determined to teach him the lesson he clearly needed. Jiang Jing's handsome face twisted in pain as he pleaded, "Please stop, it hurts too much." The severity of her punishment left even Yang Wenba, who was outside the door, trembling. He thought to himself, she couldn't do this at the police station, so now she's unleashing it all at home. He watched in shock as Jiang Jing, unable to withstand the barrage, finally knelt and begged for mercy, calling Ji Yushue big sister and promising to apologize. Even after his apology, Jiang Jing attempted to retract his words, but Ji Yushue was having none of it. She delivered another harsh blow with the belt and commanded, "Think carefully about what you've said today." Defeated, Jiang Jing bowed deeply, his dance skills unintentionally on display, much to Yang Wenba's amazement. With Jiang Jing subdued, Ji Yushue turned her attention to Yang Wenba. "Now, you need to apologize to him," she said firmly. Yang Wenba, stunned by what he had just witnessed, stood frozen, unable to comprehend the situation. Jiang Jing, still nursing his wounds, grumbled, "He hit me too, and now I have to apologize? Seriously?" But Ji Yushue, her patience wearing thin, reached for the belt once more, signaling she was ready for round two. Realizing she meant business, Jiang Jing hastily apologized to Yang Wenba, his tone full of remorse. Yang Wenba, though outwardly dismissive, felt a pang of unease as he declared, "I won't bring up the Yang family at the next party." Despite his prideful demeanor, he clearly didn't want Jiang Jing discussing their family affairs. As he wondered aloud whether he could leave now that everything had settled, he feared another round of Ji Yushue's strict discipline. With her permission, he limped away as quickly as he could, his mind racing with thoughts of avoiding any future confrontations. "Next time, I'll do some cosplay," Ji Yushue mused to herself, amused at the idea. Now alone with Yang Wenba, Ji Yushue noticed him standing there, his expression a mix of confusion and awkwardness. "Is she standing up for me?" he wondered, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and unease. But before he could dwell on it further, the sharp crack of the belt landed across his well-toned abs. "Ji Yushue, what are you doing?" "I hit him because he was disrespecting the Young family, but why are you hitting me?" he exclaimed, taken aback. Ji Yushue paused, momentarily at a loss for words. Memories of her own family flashed through her mind, bringing a brief wave of homesickness. Regaining her composure, she responded, "You fought because you're a Young family member, but you handled it poorly and embarrassed the family." Her voice turned stern, her authoritative tone leaving no room for argument. "It's one thing to lose, but it's even worse to fight knowing you can't win. You're embarrassing yourself," she added, her words cutting deep. Yang Wenba was left speechless, unable to muster a reply. Ji Yushue threw down the belt and walked away, ignoring his stunned expression. "Are you done hitting me?" he called out after her, still processing the situation. "Yes," she replied curtly. "Hitting outsiders is to intimidate them, but family is different." Yang Wenba realized then that despite her tough exterior, Ji Yushue was protective of her own. Though he was intrigued by this thrilling game with his sister-in-law, he knew he'd have to wait for another opportunity. For now, he needed to tend to his fresh wounds. Meanwhile, Mr. Jiang Meng, still shaken by the earlier confrontation, clutched her chest in fear. "Mr. Yang, I'm not feeling well today. Let's talk some other time," she stammered before fleeing the Yang mansion without looking back. As she hurried to her car, her mind raced. Is this woman crazy? She's nothing like the timid person I knew before. I need to tell him right away. Trembling, she dialed a number and frantically spoke into the phone. "It's not going well." On the other end, Chao Jian's voice was calm but laced with mockery. "I told you, Jiang Mingchang is a good friend of Yang Chao, and if Yang Chao is missing, she will definitely come, and Jian Rui will come with her." Hearing Jian Rui's name, Jiang Meng began to panic, her forehead breaking out in a cold sweat. "What should I do? The Jian family is powerful in the entertainment industry. If your wife Jian Rui finds out I'm pregnant with your child, she will destroy me. And the baby in my belly isn't even Yang Chao's, it's Chao Jian's." Chao Jian's tone turned threatening. "If you can't keep this child, don't expect a penny from me." Jiang Meng felt a wave of dread wash over her as she realized the precariousness of her situation. "If Yang Chao comes back alive, my situation will be worse than offending Jian Rui," she thought, letting out a sharp scream. But Chao Jian remained unfazed. "Yang Chao went missing in Africa during the Ebola outbreak. He won't be coming back," he said coldly. Back at the Yang mansion, Yang Wenbo reclined on a luxurious red velvet sofa. "Is the woman who came today the one the paparazzi reported staying at the hotel with my brother?" he asked, curiosity piqued. The maid, clearly uncomfortable with the topic, nodded hesitantly. The fourth young master of the Young family pondered the situation, realizing his brother had been missing for half a month, while the scandal had occurred 3 months ago. Why bring it up now? Why is she showing up at our door with a huge belly, he wondered. Just then, the butler stepped in to address the matter, explaining that the young master's wife had instructed him to take care of the situation. Yang Wenbo, still deep in thought, crossed his arms and casually lifted his silky white shirt, revealing his impressive six-pack abs. "Where's Sister Ji Yushue?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his voice. It seemed even he was captivated by his sister-in-law's commanding presence. The maid, awkwardly smiling, replied, "Madam is resting in her room and doesn't want to be disturbed." In her room, Ji Yushue had changed into a sleek black dress and was washing up, reflecting on the day's events and preparing for whatever challenges awaited her next. As Ji Yushue's amber eyes scanned the room, they suddenly locked onto a photograph, a man standing with a child, both smiling warmly. The man was unmistakably Yang Chao. "He's a formidable figure," she mused, "definitely not someone who'd be easily swayed into marrying this fragile body." She found it hard to believe that a man of his stature would have agreed to such a union without an ulterior motive. However, knowing the typical narrative of a domineering CEO love story, Ji Yushue figured that Yang Chao would likely encounter the main female character, Yu Xiaoxiao, during his mysterious disappearance. He would probably fall for her, and upon returning from Africa, he'd likely bring her back, relegating Ji Yushue, the secondary female character, out of the picture, perhaps even handing her divorce papers. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of a phone. Ji Yushue hurried downstairs, just in time to see Yang Wenbo reaching for it. The butler informed them that it was a call from Mr. Jiang. "Jiang Jing, you idiot, you really told your brother," Yang Wenbo thought, trying to keep his composure. He picked up the receiver and greeted, "Hello?" On the other end, a deep, commanding voice said, "Please pass the phone to Mr. Yang." Trying to deflect, he responded, "Does Mr. Jiang need something from her? If it's about Jiang Jing, you can talk to me." The voice on the other end dismissed him with, "You can't make decisions." With just 5 words, the man exuded an aura of cold authority, which made Yang Wenbo bristle with anger. How dare he talk down about my big brother, he thought, ready to retaliate. But before he could say anything rash, Ji Yushue, now dressed in an elegant white outfit that made her look almost ethereal, smoothly took the phone from his hand. Standing next to Yang Wenbo, she seemed to diminish his presence entirely. Yang Wenbo, trying to maintain some dignity, muttered stubbornly, "I can handle this myself." But Ji Yushue, who grabbed his hand reassuringly while taking the phone with her other hand, made him blush despite himself. Calmly, she introduced herself on the phone, "This is Ji Yushue speaking." On the other end, the second young master of the Jiang family, lounging on a sofa with a cigarette between his fingers, responded, "Mr. Yang, hitting Jiang Jing was a clear sign of disrespect towards our family. I'll need to visit in person." Ji Yushua, unfazed, replied, "Fine, I'll be waiting." Her tone was cool, collected, and carried a mysterious maturity that left no room for further argument. She hung up, thinking to herself, "What a bunch of losers, all after me." Meanwhile, at the Jiang family home, the butler hesitantly asked, "Second young master, are you really planning to visit the Yang family?" The second young master, extinguishing his cigarette, smirked and replied, "If I don't go now, I might never get another chance." He glanced at his reflection, parting his hair and flashing a smile that was equal parts charming and calculating. "With Yang Chao out of the picture, it's the perfect time to visit," he added, his intentions clear. This visit was about more than just family honor. He had his sights set on Ji Yushue. Back at the Yang mansion, Yang Wenba and Ji Yushue were engaged in a more serious conversation. Frustrated, Yang Wenba asked, "Why did you take the call? Aren't you afraid of trouble?" His tone was accusing, but there was an undercurrent of concern. He tugged on Ji Yushue's bracelet, his eyes locking onto hers. "So, you just want to take that hit for me?" he pressed, trying to understand her motives. Ji Yushue, maintaining her calm, responded, "It's good that you understand family hierarchy and want to protect your family, but some things are too much for kids to handle. Leave it to the adults." Yang Wenba's cheeks reddened slightly at her words. "You're only in your 20s, he retorted, his pride wounded. Ji Yushue, sensing the tension, softened her approach. "Have you had breakfast?" she asked, changing the subject and pulling her hand away from his grasp. Yang Wenba, caught off guard by the shift, muttered, "Not yet." The two of them then sat down for breakfast, the atmosphere between them easing slightly. As they ate, Ji Yushue spoke with a sense of authority. "When I hit him, I knew what would happen. You should plan before you act. Next time you face trouble, handle it like this," she advised, outlining a more strategic approach. Yang Wenba, though still irked, couldn't help but listen. He realized that Ji Yushue was proving to be a different kind of sister-in-law, one who was uniting the family in a way he hadn't expected. With a final word of caution, Ji Yushue added, "Zhang's second son is in charge now." Yang Wenba was struck by the gravity of Ji Yushue's words. Him getting involved in small matters like this shows he's very interested in Brother Yang's disappearance, she noted. This hit home for Yang Wenba, who quickly asked, "Aren't you worried he'll target our family while my brother is away? He can't take down the Yang family, but he might try to mess with us." "You need to be more cautious," Ji Yushue replied calmly, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. "Your brother is incredible, but the entire business empire doesn't rely on just one person. If he's smart, he's building a strong team to keep things running even when he's not around. So, these aren't things for us to worry about." Just as she finished speaking, the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of Zhang's second son. "Right on time," Ji Yushue said, unfazed. "Let's wash another plate." Her composure was striking, and it didn't go unnoticed by Yang Wenba, who couldn't help but admire how effortlessly she commanded the situation. With a loud bang, the door swung open, and Zhang's second son made his grand entrance. His confident strides filled the room with an air of arrogance as he greeted Ji Yushue, clearly under the impression that she would soon be his conquest. But Ji Yushue, seated on the couch next to Yang Wenba, remained unbothered. "Mr. Jiang," Ji Yushue began calmly, "are you here to stand up for Jiang Jing?" Zhang's second son touched his chin thoughtfully before replying, "We need an explanation. How can we let it go when someone from the Jiang family gets hit by someone from the Yang family?" Ji Yushue, with a piercing gaze, retorted, "And what about when your Jiang family hits someone from the Yang family? What should we do about that?" Caught off guard, Zhang's second son paused, then asked, "So, what do you want, Mr. Yang?" "An eye for an eye," Ji Yushue said evenly. Before Zhang's second son could respond, Ji Yushue beckoned Yang Wenba over with a small gesture. Like a loyal puppy, Yang Wenba approached, his face a mix of obedience and anticipation. Ji Yushue gently touched the bruise on Yang Wenba's side, then looked straight at Zhang's second son. "Mr. Jiang, your brother caused this," she said with quiet authority. Zhang's second son tried to downplay the incident. "It's just kids fighting. Why make a big deal out of it by getting adults involved? But Ji Yushue wasn't swayed. I hit Jiang Jing for Yang Wenba. If you're not happy about it, you can hit me back for Jiang Jing. It's only fair. She added with a confident smile, showing off her perfectly white teeth. No time like the present, Mr. Jiang. Let's settle this now. Jiang's second son, clearly rattled, stammered, I don't fight with women. He realized too late that he had lost face in front of Ji Yushue. Standing up, he said, since Jiang Jing started it, let's just drop it. But Ji Yushue wasn't letting him off so easily. Her expression turned icy as she asked, Mr. Jiang, do you think you can just walk all over the Yang family? Sensing an opportunity to manipulate the situation, Jiang's second son smiled slyly and leaned in closer. So what do you want, Mr. Yang? His intentions were obvious, as he tried to use the situation to his advantage. Ji Yushue remained steadfast, her eyes narrowing as she watched him closely. I want respect, she replied sharply, cutting through his advances with a tone that left no room for misinterpretation. Respect for my family, and respect for the boundaries you seem so eager to cross. Jiang's second son, taken aback by her unyielding stance, realized he had underestimated her. He might have come seeking to assert dominance, but Ji Yushue had flipped the script, showing that she was more than capable of defending her family and herself against any threat, no matter how underhanded. With a deliberate tug, she pulled it off and dangled it in front of him. Consider this an apology gift for your brother's actions, she said, waving the button teasingly. Jiang's second son blushed, tugging at his tie in discomfort. All right then, we're even. I'll take my leave, he stammered, flustered by the encounter. But just as he thought he could escape, Ji Yushue stopped him again, her tone now unexpectedly hospitable. Wait, take some freshly washed strawberries with you. Reluctantly, Jiang's second son accepted the box of strawberries, clearly unsettled by the entire exchange. As he walked out to the car, his assistant, who was driving, commented, Mr. Jiang, Mr. Yang isn't what the rumors say. She's smart but pretty domineering. Jiang's second son stood there, staring blankly as he nibbled on the strawberries, lost in thought. The image of Ji Yushue licking her finger flashed in his mind, causing him to grimace slightly. That's so gross, he muttered to himself, yet he continued eating the strawberries, thinking, these are pretty sweet. I wonder if Mr. Yang is even sweeter. The scene then shifted to a chaotic film set where crew members whispered anxiously among themselves. 3 days earlier, at 1 a.m., during the shooting of a night scene, Yang Jia had suddenly vanished from the set, slipping out of the security camera's view. The director was in a state of panic, rubbing the bridge of his nose in frustration. Pointing at the security footage, he angrily asked his assistant why they still couldn't locate Yang Jia. The assistant, equally stressed, replied that they had searched everywhere but found nothing. Desperate and on the brink of a breakdown, the director instructed his assistant to keep looking, insisting that they had to find him. If Mr. Yang's family member goes missing from the set, it will be a disaster, the director muttered, tugging at his thinning hair. Yang Jia had proven to be a real handful. Not only did he cause trouble for his sister-in-law at home, but now he was causing chaos on set as well. In desperation, the director decided to contact Ji Yushue, hoping she could help locate Yang Jia. Meanwhile, Ji Yushue was at home, enjoying a rare moment of peace. She sipped her tea while reading a romance novel titled The Bossy CEO Fell in Love with Me. Casually, she asked the maid if the fourth young master had gone to school, and her mind wandered to how delicious the crab meatballs and tofu had been. On a whim, she decided to send some to her rebellious son. The maid was stunned. She had never seen Ji Yushue so considerate before, as if she were a completely different person.